I'm wearing what I went to bed in last night. It's been one of those days, and I think that's okay to say to other people from my community, because we all have those sort of days where you sort of think you're going to manage to get dressed and get the day done. Something always slips. Today it was still wearing yesterday's clothes. So yes, I've got a bit of brain inflammation at the moment, which is making me realise, because I've been on the go since 10 o'clock this morning. Sorry, ADHD, so I will jump all over the place. But I thought maybe describing my day might help you see how some of my other jobs I do, other than my acting work on Coronation Street. So this morning I was helping facilitate a webinar led by Liz Carr and Lisa Hammond, talking to 3 of the disabled leads in television from BBC, Channel 4 and TAP. And it was really interesting to have that sort of conversation, to look at what our blocks are in terms of where we are in television industries, in terms of employing deaf, disabled, neurodivergent people, both on and off screen, and where they're looking forward towards 2026, which is really timely to be doing this webinar this evening. I set up Triple C in 2016, and it's been quite more than a full-time job ever since. We have over 2,600 deaf, disabled, neurodivergent creatives in our community. And it started, the idea seeded because every time I got another job as an actor, I was always told, probably people can relate to this, you're the only one, we don't know where to find other people. Obviously, it's that thing of the non-disabled world assume there's so few of us compared to how many there are actually of us. And I wanted to do something that pulled all the deaf, disabled, neurodivergent talent together to be able to showcase that to the industry that I love, and an industry that I feel is kind of key in how we're treated in society. Because well, the narrative they've always done, thankfully the narrative is changing in the way we're showcased on our stories are told on television and in the media. But that's been quite a journey. And I felt that the more we pulled together as a community, the more we could help other people. So say, for example, when I first became an actor, there's so few auditions for a disabled actor. It took me 3 or 4 years to learn what I needed to ask for in terms of my access in those situations. But now what's so joyful is we have a DANC event, and you see somebody sharing that knowledge, somebody who's just starting out, and it helps fast track. And I think that's what's so lovely about the way our community works, is that we support each other, and we're very generous within our community in terms of sharing knowledge and help and information. So that's why I set up Triple C DANC. DANC, pre-COVID, and it still happens now, we go into big event spaces. Well, like we've just done at the National, we've done one at the BFI, we've done like big theatres in Manchester, we've just done Birmingham Hippodrome, and one in Scotland, where you go to an arts venue and suddenly we've got 120 deaf, disabled, neurodivergent creatives. And you can actually see where the creaks are within the infrastructure of that building, because then they go, oh, one disabled toilet doesn't actually work, does it? And it's that of how do we engage with our community more. So those events, we always invite a lot of industry professionals, but people who could employ you, or people who could make a difference, or listen to what we're saying and then make a change. So like, for example, when we had one at ITV London, I think her name was Polly Hill, was the drama commissioner there, and she heard people talking and said, right, that's the last time ITV are going to employ non-disabled actors to play disabled characters. So it's things like that. That's what has been really important. And I think that's what really works when our community comes together, because they see our knowledge on certain subjects, and that's where DANC really works in that way. So we do lots of mentoring. There's so much. Triple C is really worth looking into. Triple C, and if you are a creative, I think I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so it's really hard to see the chat, but I think somebody said they were a DJ. Before I go, I'll put the email, the website in the chat. So you can sign up to the newsletter. We have a newsletter on a Monday, which has all our webinars and masterclasses. And on a Friday, we have all job opportunities people shared with us. And I think that's what, because say, for example, when I've done many a TV job in the past where I felt I've been educating the rest of my colleagues about being comfortable with me, which we've all probably identified with, before you can actually go in and just do your job and do your job well. So that's why DANC's really important, the Disabled Artists Network community, because we go into production companies and teach them how to make their environments accessible, their working practices accessible, their attitudinal shift. So we won a BAFTA for that work in 2022, which was really exciting. As a disabled person, I've always erred towards activism quite by accident, which I think we all are accidental activists in some way, just because of the way we have to fight for so much and for our rights and things. Was the lead and part of the core team on taking the PIP this year. We'd actually done it a few years before, and we were about to go on the front page of the Financial Times, and the Tory government then, at that time, turned around and withdrew. So this time, when it started, it was like, right, we're going again, and we'd had the WhatsApp group from then, and it was pretty much, luckily I wasn't filming Corrie at the time, because I think it was like 4 months of my life of every waking hour, and the same for 5 other members of the team. But what we did was we had a letter in the Guardian, an open letter signed by, I think it was about 124, when it went to print, of deaf, disabled, neurodivergent people in the public eye had signed it. And that was quite an example of my neurodivergent brain of not thinking things through, because I thought our thing was to get the letter in the Guardian. And then I realised we'd started a campaign. So I was like, oh, and then the rest of the team were like, didn't you realise, Shez, we've got a campaign? I was like, no, I'd just been working so hard to get that bit on. I hadn't actually thought about the rest of it. And then we did the campaign, and what we did was we were elevating all the other hard work that other disabled-led groups were doing, and we were also trying to connect the press all the time to people with lived experience to have those conversations. But I think what really stood out to me from that was how little general public know about disabled people and our culture and our lives. And I think what was really, well, we all know about that, and how disheartening it was the government didn't actually understand their own system and what they were going to do to us. So, but yes, so that's sort of like my activism side of myself. Health. I thought I'd talk about health later, because I think sometimes you go straight into health, and actually it's good to know the person and the personality a little bit before you know people's areas of health. I've been a wheelchair user since I was 24. Now, been in a wheelchair longer than I haven't been in a wheelchair. Been using a wheelchair. Brain inflammation. I have brain inflammation since the Covid vaccine. I was incredibly poorly after the Covid vaccine. I couldn't sit up for 14 months without my face drooping and my brain swelling. And if I'm overworked, which I have done several 12-hour days this week, so which is why I asked, I'm still in last night's jumper, pajamas, and can I go up first? Because I need to go to bed, really. But and I'm so sorry about that. I'd love to stay with you guys. So the Covid vaccine gave me brain inflammation, a heart condition, mast cell. I go paralysed when I eat food. So I'm still battling all that 4 or 5 years later, which is quite... It's. I think what was really interesting for me to learn was the superpowers and the toolkit being disabled already gave me, because I think when I couldn't sit up for 14 months and I started to go, am I ever going to be able to sit up again? What I did was I turned my laptop on its side and did meetings like that, because you can actually make Zoom look like you're stood up rather than laid against the floor. So that was, and what's quite good is when I, on a poorly day now, I'll turn my laptop on its side rather than force myself to sit up, because it's this things, even in, this social thing that we have this construct that we should be upright, which is just weird. So yeah, but when it got to the point where I thought, am I ever going to? And I thought, actually, just stay determined, just carry on, because we all been there and we know that eventually something will change. And it did. And that's what I had to do, really, was just keep almost be in denial that it was, that I was scared about it, and just carry on, because I think that's what we all end up doing sometimes, isn't it? You just have to dig your heels in, take a deep breath, and keep trusting that something will change. So, yes, what do I want from 2026? Not to have to be as strong as activism. I'd like to be more creative, because I feel a lot of my work sometimes is, and I absolutely love it. So it's not that, but it's always for change. And it was interesting. We had in Triple C, we have 10 focus groups across the intersectionality of disability, so all different areas of disability to have representation. On Monday, we had 45 people in a Zoom room talking about all the different things we want from 2026, how we want to come together as a community more, how do we more peer-to-peer support and things. But I think what I want to be able to, and what somebody else said, which really resonated with me, is that we spend so long talking about how we make a change, we forget to be the thing that we actually are, like being creative, or whatever our passions is in life. So I think I want to try and be more creative in 2026. But I'm aware I've been saying that for 3 years now at this time of year, and I write it down in me and my friend, instead of writing New Year's resolutions, we always write what we'd like to achieve or our aims, because that way you don't set yourself up to fail something in the way. You've got something more as a drive. So yeah, I'd like to be more creative. I'd like our community to be understood more. I'd like everything not to be a battle for us all. Just simple things that we all probably want.